All right, let's start. I thought I had sound there. Tried a new thing, didn't work. All right, do I have sound now? I think we should be good now, hopefully. Let's see what goes on. Hold on, everyone. All right. Sound? Okay. Thanks. You know, always trying to do something and you move something around and then there's a OBS program. All right, so my fault. I was playing a new tune. Anyway, okay, we're good. We're good. Thanks for hanging. All right, so I'm here. All right, today, first thing, two things actually. I just announced my flash sale on my, what's the name of that course? Major Moves, Unlocking Sweeter Blues Solos Masterclass. It's a replay of the masterclass I did a few months ago. And it's on sale for, it's under $20 for the masterclass. So that's a flash sale. If you're on my email list, you've probably gotten that. But that's right there. So, yeah, you guys can order that if you want. Helps out the channel. All right, today, say hi to everybody too. Let me get my pop-out chat. I got a lot of windows open, so I'm trying something new today. And obviously, something failed. And I was having a little laggy thing, so I had to change all the settings. And anyway, here we go. Let's talk about arpeggios today. So arpeggios are extremely important. In the last live stream I did, we talked about going up and down one string at a time, starting to see the fingerboard that way. That is the ultimate way to learn everything. But one thing that really helped me out too was starting to see things in position. So starting to see arpeggios as a fingering that you could memorize. But this helped a lot. So let me change it. We're going to look at a C major seventh arpeggio. So let me get where's the question? There we go. So you have a C major seventh arpeggio right over there on the screen. And that's going to be that's my root, my 3, my 5, and my natural 7. So that makes up a C major 7 chord. So C major 7 is spelled C, E, G, and B. All right? So if we put those together, C, E, G, B, C, E, G, B, C. Reverse C, B, E, nope, C, B, E, G, C, B, G, E, C, B. So root 3, 5, 7, root 3, 5, 7, root. So that's a major 7th arpeggio. If we check that one out first. So just kind of got to memorize it. Now we could do C major 7, which is C, E, G, B. We could do it up and down one string. C, E, G, B, C, right? And that's important as well. But if we take this fingering number 1, and all of this is in that free Arpeggios Unlocked course and ebook that you can get, use the link there. It's free. You just got to enroll, and it's a mini, like an ebook with all your arpeggio fingerings and a mini course. If you guys don't already have it already, get it for free right there. So the first thing I would think about is like a C major 7 chord. It's root 3, 5, flat 7. That's root 3, 5, natural 7. If we want to make it a dominant 7th chord, C7, we would take that 7th, which is on the screen there, which I don't know if I can put my arrow on top of that, and you would lower that a half step. So it's C, E, G, B flat. So if you look at your C major 7 as this master fingering right there, all I need to do is lower that 7th down a half step. The sounds of New York in the background. So C, E, G, B flat. That's my 7th is normally B, so I have B flat. So if I see even like guitar player fingering wise, I see that this is my 7th. Here's my natural 7. I just lower it. So there's C, E, G, B flat, C, E, G, B, C, E, G, B flat, C, E, G, B. So as I go through, I'd have C or root 3, 5, flat 7, root 3, 5. Well, here's my natural 7. I lower it to my flat 7. So C major 7, just altering the fingering that I have on the screen right over there. I just lower my 7th. And I have a C7 chord, right? Okay, so there's C7. If you look at a C7 chord, C7 fingering, I can see that my B is a B flat here, as opposed to a B natural if I played a C major 7th chord. So C dominant 7, C, E, G, B flat, C, E, G, B flat. So I can see it in a number of ways. You do want to memorize it as C, E, G, B flat, but you also want to start to think about root 3, 5, flat 7. So I can hear that sound. Very distinctive sound as opposed to the major. Flat 7. So if I see this finger, if I want to move it to G, and I start to understand where roots, 3s, and 5s, and 7s are inside the fingering, G major 7, G dominant 7. Sorry, I'll talk about fingerings in a second. Right, C major 7. Okay, so all I do, and this is all in the Arpeggios book, like major 7 is root 3, 5, 7. Dominant 7 is root 3, 5, flat 7. So if I just flat that 7 of any of the major 7 fingerings I know, I have a dominant 7th arpeggio. So if I want to continue with that, if I want to make it a minor 7, I flat the 3rd. So I have root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, root. So what's nice about this, I'm not just memorizing a fingering, which I am, and I'm altering the fingering, but I see how the notes are actively different. You know what I mean? So I'm not just like learning a fingering, like, oh, here's C major 7, here's C minor 7, and I don't know what the difference is other than I just play this one note differently. I'm actually seeing that I am lowering my 3rd or I am lowering my 7th to get the proper sound I want to get, right? So C minor 7 is root, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, root. Right? So I've just changed this C major 7 to C dominant 7 to C minor 7. I'll talk about the fingerings again in a second. Okay? So I'm seeing that my 3 is the E, and I move it down a half step. Or I have my B, which is my 7th, I move that down a half step to get my flat 7. This isn't the sexiest thing to talk about on the guitar, but it is super, super important because you need to know this stuff. Okay, so root 3, 5, or root flat 3, 5, flat 7, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, root. The next chord we would encounter in a major key is going to be half diminished or minor 7 flat 5. That's a minor 7th chord with a flat 5. I'm going to say that again without my voice cracking. That's a minor 7 chord with a flat 5. So it's root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. So here's my root, 3, 5, 7, root. 3, 5, 7, root. Now root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7, root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. So that was really helpful to me because if I knew a major 7th arpeggio anywhere, if I knew where root 3, if I knew which one was the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th, I can alter them accordingly to the chord, right? So I can memorize fingerings, which are important, but it is really important, like I said, to see the fingering, the degrees of the scale, which would be the chord tones, where your chord tones are, and if you alter those in one position, you can start to see how the things work even better than maybe memorizing a bunch of fingerings. Why is this important? I'm going to ask her, answer my own questions here too. Is because if I want to change from, I've got a tune that goes, let's say, C major 7 to C minor 7. So instead of thinking, I know one fingering for C major 7 and then one fingering for C minor 7, which was kind of the way I grew up, like, okay, I was thinking fingerings. But if I know what notes I am changing, I can target those things and I move between them so much more smoothly. I'm not seeing them as pictures, I'm seeing them as notes of the chord. So C major 7. So that's C minor 7. Major 7. Minor 7. Because I'm seeing C major 7, root 3, 5, 7, then to C minor 7, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, root. This was the big breakthrough for me, as opposed to one of my early guitar teachers would just give me, here's all your minor 7th arpeggios or your major 7th arpeggios, like you write them all out, and then he'd give them to me. And I would be sitting there memorizing these things just as fingerings, and they were really disjointed from what I was actually, they were disjointed from music, right? They were just like, these are fingerings, learn the fingerings, see you next week. And I was like, this is completely overwhelming. But if you start off with like a master fingering of, say, the C major 7th, and this is the way I show you in this, the free mini course, the Arpeggios Unlocked mini course in Ebook, I do it this way with you. I'll take you through all the fingerings of C major 7. If you know those, you can make them into any 7th fingering that you want. If we go a little bit further, diminished 7th is root, flat 3, root, flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7, 6. So it'd be this. Here's my root, 3, 5, 7, root, 3, 5, 7, root. There's a root, flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7, root, flat 3, 5, double flat 7. Right? You hear that sound? Right? You got that? So that is root, flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7. And in the ebook, I write out all the formulas. So I memorized the formulas, and that's not that hard to do, right? Major 7, root 3, 5, 7. Minor 7. Dominant 7, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Major 7. Minor 7, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Minor 7, flat 5, root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. Diminished 7, root, flat 3, flat 5, double flat 7. I know I'm just throwing that out and it seems like a bunch of numbers. It's all written out in the PDF inside the course. I just started to memorize that. It's not that hard. There's 5 types of chords to start off with. The major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, flat 5, and diminished 7. You get those, that's like the framework for sort of everything. So if I learn a different fingering for C major 7, say I didn't write this one out, it's in the course, the free course, and I've got people say, well, it's not free, it says I have to enroll. I'm like, well, it's free to enroll. Like, you just have to, for you to be able to watch the course or get the PDFs from the platform I use, you need to enroll in it, and then you get it for free. All right, so here's a C major 7 arpeggio. Let's say right here. So C, E, G, B, C, E, G, B. C minor 7. C dominant 7. So I'm thinking root, 3, 5, flat 7, root, 3, 5, flat 7. And then back and do reverse. Flat 7, 5, 3, root, flat 7, 5, 3, root, flat 7, 5, flat 7, root. So you see what's going on? If I know those shapes at first, but I also know the intervals, root, flat 3, 5, or root 3, 5, 7. If I see it as a master shape of this one that's on the screen, I can start to alter it to get any of the chord shapes that I want, or any of the chord types, I should say. And I start to think about it less fingering-wise than I actually do. Well, I flatted my third. And after a while, you start to hear, well, that's a flat third. So it's cumulative after a while of working through it, like everything, thank God. the more you do it, the more you're going to start to hear that flat 7, the more you're going to start to see how they relate to each other. And a fun thing to do is like a chord progression I was talking about is you sit on a C major 7 for a while. Unfortunately, I have my looper hooked up right now. And then go to C minor 7. And just change between the two of them as simply as possible. Even if you're doing something like... That's 7. Right? 3. Flat 3. 5. Well, 5's going to stay the same. And when I started to see that these notes just move very smoothly from each other into one another, the playing really took a leap forward. Guys, some of this is just hard work. You know, I've always been really honest about that. Just worked my ass off on this stuff. But the payoff is so worth it because you just start to understand the guitar better. If you take a look at last week's, or the week when I was at NAMM last week, happy to talk about NAMM in a minute too. And when you look, this is the same idea as doing it up and down one string, but now we're doing it in position. So both are really, really important because the one string thing is really great. I would probably more important than this. But when you're actually kind of ripping through stuff and playing, you want to be able to play some stuff in position because you want to have a lot of these ideas under your fingers. Now, arpeggios are a means to an end. When I was younger, I'm sitting like, yeah. Do whatever kind of sloppy playing over. Been working on my major 7th arpeggios as fast as I can, doing sweeps and all this kind of stuff. Cool. That's fun and it's cool. But, I don't want to hear anybody play that way. I thought it was cool when I was younger, to get all that speed. And I'm glad I worked on it. I'm glad I can whip that stuff out when I need it. But what really paid off is when I could play a little more musically and think, oh, okay, cool. I got a C major 7 chord. Oh, what's the next chord? C minor 7. Oh, that's easy. And then you could do little segments of the guitar. You don't have to think about the whole arpeggio. You don't have to do that. That's going to sound dumb. I could take a little part of the fingerboard, maybe the D, G, and B string, C major 7, C minor 7, right? So I'm just changing between those two by just changing the notes of the chord. And I am seeing flatted the 3rd and I flatted my 7th. So there's a number of ways you can practice. I'm just laughing because now comes the hard part. You want to memorize the fingerings that are in the ebook, one at a time. There's no rush. There is nobody's calling you up and say, dude, you didn't learn those arpeggios. In other words, I had to know them for college, or else I would have failed. So I had to perform them, do your major 7th arpeggio, C major 7 from the 3rd. I had to be able to do that. B flat minor 7, flat 5 from the flat 5. I had to be able to do that. And I would get panicked. And then I would be like, oh, well, you know those notes. Or I know a B minor 7, a B major 7, or a B flat major 7, excuse me. So if I know that master fingering, I know all those fingerings, let me flat the 3, the flat 5, and the flat 7. So I don't have to rack my brain necessarily all the time. Like, I don't only know that arpeggio in one position. I can start to think, well, I know this master fingering, and if I just alter the notes I need to, I will get any arpeggio that I need to be able to play. And it's all these things together. It's the one string at a time, the 2 strings. It's this learning arpeggios in position. It's knowing the intervals. So it does come together. What I would recommend is that you memorize the formulas that are in the PDF handout, in the link for the course. It's really important that you memorize the notes of the chord eventually, C major 7 and all its iterations. But if I know C major 7 is C, E, G, B, and I know my chord formulas, minor 7 is flat root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, I just flat my 3 and my 7. C major 7 is C, E, G, B. C minor 7 is then C, E flat, G, B flat. And if I know where my root, my 3, my 5, and my 7s are in each of the fingerings, I can start to do that. Like I said, it's not easy. It's not like the Matrix where I can stick this thing in the back of your head and you know Kung Fu. I wish, because there's so many things I would love to be able to do like that, like speak other languages, or just be able to play bebop or something like that. Just that quickly. But it doesn't work that way. So this is really useful for me. Now, the way you can practice it too, and I wasn't planning ahead with my looper because I want to talk about a few other things in a minute. But play a major 7 chord with your looper and just root 3 5 7, root 3 5 7, root, and I hear that sound. What's the 7th in that sound like? What's a flat 7 sound like? What's the natural 3rd sound like? What's a flat 3rd sound like? Right, so now I'm just going between C major 7, C dominant 7, C minor 7, C minor 7 flat 5, and C diminished 7. But you can come up with chord progressions, right? Maybe I want to go between like a blues, C7 to F7, because that'd be the 4 chord in the blues. Well, C7. Where's my F major? We haven't done this one, but that's right there, so make that F7. Now to have a G7, well, here's a G major 7 arpeggio. Flat my 7th. F major, 7 or dominant 7. C7. Right, so I'm just kind of digging into those arpeggios. It's funny when I can see how many people are on here when I do these more educational things. It always gets fewer people because people want to talk about pedals a lot of the times, which is cool. I get it. I have a lot of fun with that. But this is the stuff. If you want to really dig in, and if you do it slowly, it gets easier. And if you divide it up into the way you want to maybe practicing the 1 string at a time stuff we talked about 2 weeks ago, and then in position. Both are equally as important, and you have to practice the crap out of both. But they start to come closer and closer and closer together. So now when I'm thinking C major 7, I can see it horizontally as well as vertically, just because I've been doing it a really long time. No magic. I just practice the shit out of it. You know what I mean? That's really the case. I just practice it. And then give yourself a puzzle, right? Like I said, I want to go from C major 7 to C minor 7. Do that. Or just choose another key. Or, C major 7, C dominant 7 to B flat major 7. Right? Something like that. Yeah. Let me slow that down. Right? And then you can start to learn them on top of each other. The more the fingerings you dig into, the more you can see how all these chords really sit all on top of each other with different inversions of the fingerings within about a 5-fret radius. That's sort of like the mind explosion, that with all 12 keys and all those chords, you can do all of them in about that much of the fingerboard. And it takes a lot of work. There's a lot of brain power put in behind that. But what I love about it is it does start to snowball. The more you do it, it does get easier. Does this help, guys? Any questions on this? I would love to answer questions. So Tucker was asking diagonally next. Well, it all does come together diagonally. Like so, C major 7, C, E, G, B, C, E, G, B, C, E, right? C major 7 that way. So it's really important that you start to see these things too. And it all comes together after a little bit of a while. Oh, my favorite. You drop 2 voicings. It's been a while. What am I doing? There we go. I messed that one up. Yeah. That's it. Okay, here it is. No, Jeff, come on, dude. It's been a while. Here it is. No, 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 that's it. There we go. So I've got this. It's been a little while since I've done those. So, so when I'm going through chord changes and when I'm thinking about making a change, this is how I start to see things. I don't, I don't think licks much anymore at all. I mean, you got some stuff that you rely upon. Everybody's got licks. But if I'm playing over some chord changes, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about what are the notes that I need to hit. I'm not thinking about playing fast. I'm just thinking about, oh, let me get that. Now, as I talk about in the course, the free course using the link down below, and BB's got it on the side. Okay, this is root 3, 5, 7. A major 6th chord is root 3, 5, 6. So, C major 6. Great sounding chord. Right, so all I'm doing is replacing the 6 with the 7. So in the course, I write out all the chord formulas. And you just start to see it. It's like, wow, okay. A sus2 chord, right? A major 7, dominant 7, sus2 or something. So it's kind of like a 9. Yeah, let's not do that. Those names get a bit crazy. The ones you want to learn, if you learn major 7, just learn major 7. Get those. Now, you're probably not going to use major 7 all that much. If you're kind of here hanging with me, you're more into kind of like blues and rock. So major 7, maybe not so much. Just I do use major 7 arpeggios all the time. But, blues and rock is more like minor 7 or dominant 7. So, start on a dominant 7th chord if you like. Whatever works for you. But I like the idea of the major 7, know that first, and then just change the note you need to change to get to the point to where you want to get to the chord you want to be. Don't just see it as I changed the fingering. See it as that I flatted my 7th. I took the 7th and I flatted down a half step to get the proper note I need for that chord. Right? So that is really, really, really important. For example, even at music school, and this is where I learned how to get out of this, was if I had to change from major 7 to minor 7, I would be in a panic situation. I would play a major 7 arpeggio, maybe because I knew it really well here. And maybe I knew a minor 7 arpeggio really well here. Or I didn't know, what I'm saying? I didn't see them on top of each other and what was the difference between the two. I saw them as fingerings, and then I would panic and I would have to move it if I wanted to change keys. I wouldn't know that fingering off the top of my head, so I'm changing positions and then you just end up sounding like you're poking around and nothing happens. Nothing good happens. Nothing good's going to come from that. Okay. Okay, I didn't know. This is Victor Beebe. I wish I could be able to bring the questions on the screen, but I can't yet. I'll start with exposure and then build up. Yeah, just start with something simple. Like, look, this is a lot of information, and it's just take the course. Just learn one fingering for a major 7 chord. It's free. Just by the way, guys, if you're already part of my that YouTube channel, if you've gotten anything else, it'll be there. You're already signed up. So just click on the link, and you should be already kind of logged in, I think. So just choose one arpeggio, Victor. Right? Just learn that. That's like your goal for the month, week, or whatever. Oh, Quincy's here. What's up, man? Okay, got some more questions coming in. Cool. Learning these and how they lay in the inversions and the modes was a real eye-opener for me. Yeah, it's really, really important. By the way, when I'm soloing on these things, I've just done it a really long time. So I hear some players, guys who post on YouTube a lot, saying like, nobody talks about the modes. I've been doing sessions and nobody talks about modes or this. And I'm like, yeah, of course not, because you're all professional musicians. I got to say to I'm doing a gig with Angus coming up on next Wednesday at the Bitter End. Come on to the Bitter End next Wednesday. I don't say to Angus, yeah, it's a Dorian thing. We're going to play in Dorian. I want you to play a Dorian. Like, you just know what to do. So this is part of that. I don't say to anyone, I'm changing arpeggios. No, I'm just doing my job. All right, so the more you do it, the better you get. All right, do you recommend that we stay in one key when practice moving between chords? For example, in the key of C major, moving between C major 7, D minor 7, G dominant 7, etc. Yeah, sure, absolutely. So to kind of maybe put that in more understandable terms for everybody, the diatonic chords for the key of C major are C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, A minor 7, and B minor 7 flat 5, or also called B half diminished. So yeah, I would go through those for sure. But one thing that I think would be kind of fun to do as you learn one fingering like this, you want to learn them diatonically, meaning from one key, but you also want to see the way I was talking about C major 7, C dominant 7, C minor 7, C minor 7 flat 5, C diminished 7. When you start to see them compared to each other in one position, that helped me because then I was not running around trying to see the difference or learning different fingerings or memorizing different fingerings. I was seeing how each of the fingerings of the C major 7, when you change them and you see what note is being moved to form that chord, that was ultimately more helpful than doing, say, something like, I'm not sure if you're asking this, but if I'm going to go like... Obviously, I practice that. That's going through my diatonic arpeggios. I practiced that. But what was ultimately more helpful is if I saw how these things change within one key, or how you could go through all the different chord types staying on the same root. That was pretty useful. But you got to do both. How's that for an answer? It's a good question, though. Thanks, man. Guitar Grandpa, what's up, Randy? Is it okay to think of C major 6 as an inversion of A minor 7, given they're the same notes? Yes, but they you always ask the good questions, Randy. They function differently. If I'm playing a C major 6 chord, C, E, A, G, that's the same as A minor 7. But when I hear it as a C, but yeah, it's an A minor 7 arpeggio, but I want to see it as a C major 6 sometimes too, because if I'm playing over a C major 6 chord, I don't want to think about A minor 7. I want to think C major 6. Why is that? Well, I might end up on the A's a lot, which works nicely, but I'm not thinking about the chord I'm on. I'm thinking about this other kind of shortcut to get there, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of a fan of call it what it is. But whatever gets you there, but ultimately it's like C major pentatonic and A minor pentatonic. If I'm playing in C major, I might be thinking A minor pentatonic, which I'm not, but you're not hearing it as A minor pentatonic. You hear it as C major. So it's the same thing when you're doing this kind of stuff. Okay. We have here Johnny Torres. Do you think players are becoming more technical because they practice technique more so than songs? I think players become more technical or more really, really good technique at an earlier age because of YouTube. And guitar, really came into its own, like rock guitar and shreddy stuff like that, the way we're talking, with in like this since the 60s, right? Or 50s even. Like electric guitar is not that old. So we've worked all the techniques, and whether it's talking about like legato stuff or tapping or any of those kind of things, I think the speed on the instrument became so much easier to do just because the technique has been codified. He's much more, what's the right word? You can go on YouTube and watch everybody with the greatest technique in the world show you how to play something. Man, I get, it's just at NAMM hearing people shred, and I'm like, I can't play like that. That guy's like 15 or something like that. And I had just that amount of technique. Forget it. You know what I mean? So, let me see. I learned mixolydian scale from an old Guitar for the Practicing Musician article about Randy Rhoads. I memorized the patterns before they made sense. Yeah, whatever gets you there. Memorizing patterns are cool at first. You just always want to make sure that you go back and make sense out of it so you can start to use them. Modes can be very confusing. I practice these and confuse numbers and note letter names. The shapes I remember across the board. Any suggestions how to clarify both? Dyslexia is real. Oh, dude, tell me about it. I practice them in two different ways. Okay, C major 7, C, E, G, B. Now, I find it very difficult to learn C, E, G, B, C, E, G, B this way. So if you go back to 2 weeks ago, I did a video on learning a guitar horizontally. That was much easier to go, okay, B, C, E, G, B, C. So it's a mixture of the two. But in terms of interval names, root 3, 5, flat 7, I think that was kind of easy because if I just memorize that this is root 3, 5, 7, if I just flat that 7 and saw it, and then started to hear it too. So just do one at a time. I do find, since the guitar is really kind of confusing when you're going this way, all fourth and then a minor third, So seeing root 3, 5, that's a major third to a minor third to another major third, that's really hard to see this way. It's very easy to see horizontally as opposed to vertically. So a bit of both. Like I said, there's no easy way out. But just do one. Don't try to do all of them at once, because I think that's going to get you. It's just too much info, in my mind. We don't need more people playing faster, though. We need more people actually writing music and not playing covers. Yeah, after being at NAMM and walking around, and there's plenty of fine guitar players, but, you hear a lot of the same thing. And I can be guilty of it too, but I try. Well, the funny thing is, speed was a real thing for a long time. Now, good technique is different than playing fast for the sake of playing fast. But you all need good technique. And good technique is just whatever the technique you have that gets out the thoughts that are in your head. And the better your technique gets, the more thoughts you have in your head, which is interesting as well. But, chops for the sake of chops. It's like anything. It's not really interesting anymore because everybody's got chops at this point. Well, people are a lot younger than me who've got chops. Jeff is a cool cat when it comes to sharing this knowledge. Thanks. People have always been very generous to me. If you like this, get the course. Pick up one of my courses if you like my teaching and all this stuff. Got a ton of courses. It's a great way to help me. Hope I get it directly, as opposed to YouTube, which is not a big money maker. So if you like what I do, please like and subscribe and all that stuff. And then pick up a course over at JM Guitar Lessons. You got the special blowout sale, a flash sale on the Sweet Blues Masterclass. So there's something right there. But like I said, just get this one for free. Get you on my mailing list and all that kind of stuff. I always do sales, You guys pay. You guys know that. All right. I've actually been trying to play something simple to actually play music versus running shapes. Yeah, it's really, really important to just take your time. And whenever I'm feeling like I'm not really progressing, I just kind of slow down and work on something easy. Speed left me when I started listening to Jerry Garcia. He had a lot of chops. Hey, Bill, thanks so much. Jeff's course has been very helpful to me. If you like what Jeff does on YouTube and you have not tried his courses, I think you'll get a lot from them. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So any more questions on this? It's all right there. You bought the Freedom 618-0. I just bought the Sweet Blues last evening. Great stuff. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It's a replay from one of my master classes. It's shot in HD, all the tab notation, everything like that. So it's a master class, not a course, but it's good info, if you ask me. Angus Clark, who once again, Bitter End, New York City. Next Wednesday, February 4th at 8:30 p.m. Angus and I are playing a gig together. So if you're in New York, come on down. Come check us out. Be a ton of fun. Angus is saying, when I practice arpeggios, I look for the ones that fall easily under my fingers and then turn them into licks. Right. You know? Yeah, for sure. The cool thing is the more you practice them, the more they just start to kind of work and you sort of find things that start working. Tommy Ballard, are you taking more people into the inner circle? Yes, I am, for sure. Always, the inner circle is always open. I haven't done a little mailer for that in a little bit. I will. The inner circle is when I meet with everybody on something like this, but we go deep into lessons. We got a few lessons a week. We got a forum there, and I get questions from everybody. We work through stuff, and we meet in person, get feedback. It's a great hang. I love doing it. I have so much fun with those guys, and a great bunch of guys. So that's the inner circle. So you can check that out too. I love your teaching and style and tempo is much appreciate your content always. Thank you. Definitely buy Jeff's stuff if you haven't already. Always great. Yes, I agree. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. There's the inner circle. Thanks, BB. Appreciate it. Okay, so just for fun, I want to talk about a few things. So I want to talk about what I'm playing today. My friends at UA have always been so cool to me. I've started messing with this. Where is it? Boom. I've been playing through the UA Paradise plugin. So it runs native. In other words, I don't think you need to have UA software to own it. But it's pretty cool. I've been messing with it a bit. So it's got all the amps. Got the Marshall right here. I'm digging it. And I got all the UA effects, which are really my favorite. Like there's reverbs. Yeah, it's great. I'm really happy with it. I started messing with it more lately. And let me see if I can get a kind of a cool, sort of this big Eric Johnson clean thing. So let me see what I can find that one. Of course, I'm not going to be able to live, but you know, big clean. It's this one. What's kind of nice is sometimes it's hard to get really nice clean sounds out of these things. There's that Eric Johnson one. I can't find it now when I want to look for it, of course. Anyway, been using this. I've been digging it. I'll probably do a video on it because I finally had a chance to sit down with it. Cool stuff. Let's go back to the Marshall. Crunch. I'm going to go back to here. So, hold on, guys. Let's go. There we go. Let's build one. This is kind of fun. So watch, I can choose my amp. So we're going to go let's go to the Dumble. And yeah. Get some reverb on that. I don't know why you'd never have a guitar sound without reverb in my life. There you go. So I'm really digging this. I think it's a ton of fun. So as I'm going through that was all C7. So let me just go back to this. I'm trying to just pitch you a UA stuff. So if I'm thinking a C dominant 7th arpeggio, C, E, G, B flat, and I've learned this, sorry, C, E, G, B flat, so I would go to my next position of C major 7 in the chorus. Yeah. I wasn't planning on, I haven't played this one in a while. What's interesting is I haven't run through the arpeggios from top to bottom in a really long time because I don't play them that way anymore. But I think you should. So root 3, 5, 7, root 3, 5, 7, root. And then, so there's C, E, G, B, C, E, G, B. B. B flat, lower that 7th. Right? C major 7 right here. C dominant 7, you lower that 7th a half step. Yeah, fuck. It's live. So when I'm thinking that, I have the dexterity that some of those arpeggio fingers can give you, and then just that picture thing, because anybody in guitar says they're not thinking shapes at times is lying. I don't think shapes all the time, but yeah, you end up playing them because that's just the nature of the instrument. So I've learned those dominant 7th arpeggios, and I've known the notes of C, E, G, B flat. Yeah. Do I make mistakes? All the time. So I'm just thinking, I'm seeing those arpeggios because I've gone through like the master arpeggio of the major 7 and started to alter those notes. So I can go through all the C7th arpeggios that way. That was, once again, brings me back to the main idea of what we're doing. Works really, really well. Yeah, okay. The Paradise appears to be a simpler interface. It's really nice. I really do like it. It sounds great, but it's so easy to use. And the more I kind of sat with it, the more I kind of got into it. A bit more of a traditional guitar. I think the only thing it doesn't really have is like super metal sounds, which is fine with me. You can get that other places, but the effects are so great, and it feels really good to play. So I've really been digging it. There's a lot of really great plugins, but my friends at UA hooked me up with this one, and I've been digging it. I've actually used it on a few things. The great thing about plugins, for people who don't know, I was kind of slow on the plugin thing, is that you can record with the plugin into your DAW, like Logic or something, and then you can change the guitar sound, right? You don't have to keep the sound that you're using. So let me give you an idea what I mean. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to record. Let's just record live here. I don't know what's going on here, so let's just record. Hold on. Hold on. Do this. And I think everything's going to be off the camera there. It should work. Let's see. Turn off the loop. Okay. See if it works live. So. Right, so over here, that back. Let me turn off record. Turn off that low latency mode, which I was on. Come on. Sorry, guys. I'm doing it live. Everything's off screen a bit. There we go. Let's turn this off. So I turned off low latency mode. So check this out. Right, so that's what I just recorded. Sounds great, but watch what you can do. This is my favorite thing about plugins. Like I said, I'm really late to the party on this, like an idiot. So just changing the amps. right? So if you take off the plug-in, just disengage the plug-in, you get this. Just a direct guitar sound. And I can tailor the guitar sound as I go through it. Well, maybe I want, that same guitar, a little more drive or something. All right, so for guys who are used to plugins, it's pretty obvious, but for me, I'm kind of just starting to dig more into it. I usually just recorded amps, and now I'm kind of really enjoying recording a direct out, and I have options. So that's one of the beautiful things of technology. All right, I got a few questions. Let's get into that low latency mode again. Okay, so forgive my ignorance on the plug-in tech, but do they sit on top of your DAW, or they stand alone? Some ones work standalone, and some of them work inside your DAW only. This one works inside the DAW only, and other ones work outside the DAW. So although I usually try to record live amps as much as I possibly can, I will, from now on, with working the record, always run a direct out as well. So if I want to, when I'm editing, or I can mess with guitar sounds, I could reamp it into a real amp, or I could use the plug-in if I wanted to add some effects or a different guitar sound, or I didn't like the guitar sound I got on retrospect when you're starting to mix the record. So that's one of the really kind of cool things about some of the plug-ins. Also, at home, it makes life a lot easier. Jeff gets into tone like dialing no one else. It's a fun thing. The neural plugins you can run either way. I don't know what the question was, but the neural plugins could work as a standalone, and they also work as a plugin. So that's kind of cool too. Does Paradise Studio only work with UA interfaces? I don't believe so. No, I don't believe it does. I think it works. It's native to. No, it does not. You can work. You don't need the UA interface. You do not, because it runs inside your DAW. So that's why I don't think they have a standalone. I don't know why they don't have a standalone, but it runs inside your DAW. So some people were maybe asking, like my inner circle. Okay, let's just clear up a few things. I don't work with TrueFire anymore. I haven't put out a TrueFire course in 5 years. Great people, still friends. Everything I do is over at JM Guitar Lessons for like the past 5 years. So my situation with TrueFire is great. Great friends with the people at TrueFire. Just I got my own business. And that's this. So JM Guitar Lessons if you want to go over there. All right, any questions? Let me just kind of recap once again. I just wanted to run. I could talk about NAMM real fast too, but real fast. The arpeggios, get the free course. I explain everything right there that I've done here. You get free mini ebook, and it's a mini course. And I just lay out the arpeggios largely as I just did here right now. That's the thing that really worked for me, was learning my arpeggios, both horizontally and vertically. But the thing that was a real key about learning them vertically was understanding what notes that I am changing as opposed to just memorizing a fingering. So I see the arpeggios as the notes of the chord, C major 7, C, E, G, B, but I will also see it as root 3, 5, 7. And if I want to flat that 7, I start to see how those exist in each of the fingerings. By the end, this is all to get you to the end goal of just knowing where those notes are on the neck. So some people may say, like, well, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you do it that way? There's a number of ways you can approach doing this. This is what worked really nicely for me. It got me out of just playing fingerings and memorizing just C major 7. And like, now what? Now I got to learn C minor 7. And I didn't see C major 7 connected to C minor 7. I just saw them as two entirely different things, as opposed to, C major 7, C minor 7, I'm just flattening my 3 and my 5. So why did I have to learn all those minor 7 fingerings when I could have just taken this major 7 fingering and then flattened it? That really helped a lot. Am I getting a little jittery on the camera? Looks that way. I don't know what's going on lately. Anyway, all right. Um, Any insight in how a jazz player might learn, memorize, and incorporate arpeggios into the playing versus a classical or rock player? Oh, yeah, yeah. And when you're playing through like a jazz standard, I would try to run the arpeggios in one position. And I wouldn't even necessarily try to go top to bottom. I would try to play, as few of the note differences between the chords that I was going through. So like autumn leaves. So A minor 7, D7, G major 7, C major 7, and F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Oh, sorry. Then B7. Nope, I messed that up. E minor 7. So I would start to see how they work in one position as opposed to going. Got a very chorusy guitar sound on right now. Yeah. I just sloppily running through all my arpeggios, and that's important to do that too, but that made me just really good at going, but as opposed to seeing how they work and just going through them and finding connecting ideas. That's how, if you're going to play that, but I would work on a blues first. That's easier because the blues is jazz. If you're making the chord changes, you're kind of playing jazz a bit. Let me get a better guitar sound. That's better. Pretty good. Good. All right. Bandwidth flutter is good now. Yeah, I don't know what started happening recently. I don't know what's up. Any experience with the Fuchs amps, ODS Classic? Nope, none whatsoever. I've met Andy a few times. Seemed like a very nice guy. I'm sure they sound great. A lot of really great players play them. He knows what he's doing. Play 2 rocks. Same kind of line of stuff. So, just arrived. Missed all the good stuff. We'll catch the rerun. Cool. All right, just a real fast rundown of NAMM. Had a great time. Played the 2 rock show with my friends Matt Schofield and Corey Congilio played, and Ariel Posen, and Artur Menendez, and Jesse Davey sat in, who's a super nice guy, and Angus Clark played with me. I brought Angus up to jam with me, and it was a ton of fun. NAMM was fun. Lots of gear. I don't really care as much anymore. I just kind of go to see some of my friends, and that's the best part. So I get to see all the people I work with. My favorite pieces of gear. That Wampler pedal head looks really cool. Check that out. That's like a power amp that's really small. And I played through it, and it sounded and felt really great. And I'm friends with Michael Nielsen over at Big Hairy Guitars. And he's like, dude, this thing sounds amazing. And he would tell me, he'd give me the skinny. So that looks really interesting for touring. Fender, Gibson, Marshall, PRS, none of those guys were there. So it's always kind of a bummer. The new 2 rocks sound great. The new Studio Overdrive and the new Divided by 13. So at some point you will see those hopefully behind me in the next few months. And those were awesome. So that's some cool flight cases. It's smaller than it used to be. Last year I felt like was a little more fun. Maybe because of the big PRS party with a lot of people there. They open up the floor now on, it used to be like Thursday and Friday was only for dealers and artists and things like that. And then I think they started opening the floor now on Friday as opposed to just Saturday. So Friday was super packed with people, and it was really, really loud. And so, that gets to be not as much fun. So Thursday was fun because then I can get to see everyone and you're not screaming in everybody's face. But I enjoyed it. It was a good time. All right. Any questions on this, guys? Any more questions? I know I'm getting a warning on my streaming. This was never a problem. It's when you always do the updates on some of the platforms that I use to stream, and then something always changes. Really annoying. All right. Download the course. It's free. Once again, I have a flash sale on the Sweet Blues, Major Blues Soloing Masterclass. It's like under 20 bucks. Hope you dig that. And you guys are the best. I really appreciate it. Please hit the like and subscribe. Please let your friends know. Comment. All these things help. It's a jungle out here on the YouTube. Honestly, it's very difficult to get noticed. Even if you've been doing it for a really long time, and what gets videos noticed is people commenting. And if you notice, I pretty much respond to any comment because I appreciate you take the time to comment, and it also does help the algorithm quite a bit. Please pick up a course, like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. All right, so yeah, once I pick up a course, that's the best way to support what I'm doing if you like what I'm doing. All right, guys, I'll have a video coming out this weekend. And BB, thanks so much as always. And everyone, I'll see y'all later. Have a great week. Stay warm because it is cold as all get out here in New York. And, wherever you are, hang in there with the absolute insanity of the world at the moment. Remember, power to the people. I'll see y'all later.